Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the lack of content, lack of videos. Just been dealing with life. I'm fine, Jan's fine, everybody's fine, orchids are fine. Just busy dealing with life. Anyway, I wanted to give everybody a quick peek, say hello. I appreciate all the concern. I've been getting emails and texts from people asking me if I'm okay, if everything's okay. I really appreciate it. But this is my epiphyllum hookeri. Wow, what a huge plant this has become. I got this plant 1st of May, and we're only first week of September right now, so I haven't had it that long, but this thing has tripled in size and just continues to grow. Big, thick, plastic-like leaves, and just continually putting out more and more growth, Really gotten large. Doing very, very well. The lipstick plant is actually doing something very odd. This was covered in these little red blooms. They were everywhere. And I've noticed bees don't really get on the plant and do a whole lot, but hummingbirds are always all over this plant, and they're down in those blooms and always seem to be over here on the plant. And it started putting off seed pods. It's covered in seed pods. I've pulled hundreds of seed pods off of it, and it just keeps creating seed pod after seed pod after seed pod. They're everywhere. They're all over the plant, just everywhere. And to me, it's not a very desirable trait. I don't particularly want seed pods. I wanted blooms, and ever since it started growing seed pods, it's kind of slowed down its blooming. So, and it could be a seasonal thing too, but again, just not a trait I really desire in a plant. This plant has gotten huge. It's about 30 inches long now, and 4 or 5 times the size it was when we first got it. But we'll see how it does. We'll see. And this beautiful plant, this is one of my favorites. This is the Hoya affinity species, Burtonii, and it's getting some early morning light right here. None of these plants get full sunlight. They just get early morning light and then filtered light the rest of the day. But this plant has, I only had this plant since May also, and again, this is September. This plant has gotten 2 or 3 times the size it was when I first got it. Some of the vines are 24 or 30 inches long, but even though I've only had it a short while, it's covered itself up with peduncles, and it's blooming profusely. They're everywhere, all over it. Very, very pretty, light scent, doing very, very well. But I've had Hoyas before, and they've always been slow to grow and slow to bloom, and it took me a long time to get them to bloom. But the only thing I've done differently is I give these guys CalMag. A couple of times a month I get CalMag, about 5 or 6 drops in a half gallon of water when I water them, and I get a little bit of the orchid fertilizer diluted down, and that's about it. But they grow so fast when fed, and especially with that calcium. And being epiphytic, remember they're epiphytic, similar to orchids. They probably are by design need that calcium. Anyway, that's what I'm doing, and they seem to be responding really, really well. So I've got all my orchids set out on the wall here, and I thought I'd go through and give everybody a quick glance, just a quick peek as to how they're doing. They're doing great. Trying to move everybody slow today. The only bloom I have is this pretty one. This is Procativola key lime stars. Or excuse me. Yeah, key lime stars, Procativola key lime stars. Really, really pretty one. My shadow's blocking everything, I'm sure. But it's been blooming for a couple of days. And it had another flower spike, but since I didn't do a video over the past month, you guys missed that one. That one had several blooms on it. But look at the growth. There's another new shoot right there. So this has produced 2 new shoots for me since I've had it, and the roots just keep pouring out and pouring out and pouring out into that lava rock. Just seems to love that lava rock. Doing very, very well. This is that big dendrobium. Just a big, big cane on it. Gotten much, this is the new growth. And it's a big dendrobium. This is one, Madam Pink, I believe it's called. It bloomed earlier in the season for me, but right now it's just growing, and it seems to be a magnet for the frogs. Seem to just love it. This is RLC Taiwan Gold. Big new growth, another big new growth right here. And has another cane coming up down here, it looks like. And roots growing everywhere into that pot, all over that lava rock gravel. Here's another one. This is Pastoral Rose, BC Pastoral Rose. But look at the roots on this plant. Just going crazy. And big, big, beautiful new growth. Doing really, really well. Large growth too, compared to the others, very large. Hope I'm not moving everybody too quick today. Another new growth. Again, just doing great down in that lava rock. I've never had a plant that didn't like the lava rock or didn't just jump right into it and start growing like crazy. Another one just doing great. Lots of roots down in that lava rock. You can see all the new roots forming, attaching to the pot. There's another one. This is Epi Maple Canda. Big, beautiful new growth. Look at the root growth. The roots are what get me. Just doing great. Absolutely just doing great. Growing, growing, growing. POT Dick Smith Tom Chelsea Award. Just about filling that pot with roots. Lots and lots of roots. And several new growths that have gotten really, really large. Everybody's just doing great. Big Oncidium, OIP, Crimson Pride. Big, big growth on it. Doing great. Love the growth on this one too. This one's got some lava rock down the bottom, and other than that, it's in a mixture of just pieces of cypress and cedar cut up. And it seems to really like it. Just trying some different medias. This is BCL David Matsura Paradise. And this is another one that's a very aggressive grower. New growth here, and it's got another new bud right here at the bottom. Another new growth coming up over here. And roots just filling that pot. And I love blooms, don't get me wrong, I love blooms, but I like seeing the plants. I like seeing the roots and the new growths and how they're adapting to the media. To me, that gives a better idea of how the plant's doing. Beautiful, beautiful root growth down in there. Nice tight growth habit on that one. I love that. Big, beautiful new cane right here. New bulb. Lots and lots of growth. This is, I'm not sure which one that is. I have to look at the tag, but again, look at the growth. Got a big, beautiful new cane right there, right in the center. Big new leaf, new bulb. It's gotten very large, but love the root growth. Love that root growth. I'm feeding a lot. I'm not feeding a lot. I'm feeding often, I guess I should say. Even the baskets. These guys are planting a mixture of lava rock with some cedar pieces, and you can see what the roots do. They just They're all over inside the baskets, attached all over the place. This one has 2 big new growths on it, doing really, really well. This is another one that's just doing outstanding. Encyclia Real Clarence. I've got a couple of these. I've got a really big one in a basket too, but the roots just pouring out of the box. They're everywhere on the box. And this one one of the growths is tied up because frogs kinked it. You can see the roots coming out, spreading all over the place. Just love that. And this beast, this is BL Yellowbird. And oh my gosh, what an aggressive grower. Got another big cane coming out right here at the bottom, but just full of roots, the pot is. This is one we're going to have to repot one of these afternoons, just because it's not going to be, it's trying to walk out of the pot. But this plant has given me, trying to think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that new growth there is 6 growths since I've had this, and I've had this one since March. And that's got a sheath on it I just noticed there. But really pretty plant, growing very, very well. I keep tying all the canes up and tying all the shoots up of the new plants to kind of give them some shape and hold them up so they take up less room on the shelves. And then a bunch of phals that are just doing great. This one's in lava rock, but I've got a little bit of moss on top of it to help it hydrate it. It had some really, really poor roots, but it seems to be doing well now, growing new leaves. This little phal is just continually putting out new roots. It's got another new leaf coming out. It keeps growing new leaves. Lots and lots of roots attached into that clay pot. They love those clay pots. I don't understand why more people don't grow in clay pots. I don't understand that. This is a new phal I don't think you guys have seen. It's got a beautiful bloom cluster on it. Lightly scented. This one's planted in some lava rock. It had very good roots. I just planted it recently. The tag on it said Phal Tiny Dolls Aubergine. But really, really pretty one. The 2 variegated ones are getting bigger. The leaves are getting larger. They're growing roots down into the lava rock, doing well. Another new leaf coming out here. Still holding on to the flower spike, so really happy about that. They're not 100% anchored tight in there yet, but they are starting to grow roots. This is that little phal that has 4 keikis that I got. And I'm not quite sure what to do with this one. I'm starting to see new root growth coming out of it. It's holding on to its flower spikes. The keikis are getting bigger. It's growing lots of roots. It's still in its little rapid rooter, little pod. It needs to be repotted. I've just been leaving it sitting there till I figure out what to do with it. With 4 keikis, I mean, I've got to put it in a pot that's big enough for 4 plants the size of at least the mother plant. So I'm going to have to put that in a fairly good sized pot in order for it to keep going. It's got a new leaf, it looks like, coming out of the center. But really, really happy with it. Seems to be an aggressive little grower. And I'm not sure why it has 4 keikis, but I'm still doing research on all that. This is another one that I picked up that had keikis. I really like this one as well. The keikis are getting bigger. They're growing. They're putting out their own sets of roots. The leaves are getting longer and bigger. And I probably made a mistake of putting it in this smaller pot, but it's doing well. Very, very well. And lots of root growth. Seems to like the clay and the lava. Again, I've never had a plant that didn't grow into lava or didn't like clay pots. Not one. This is another phal I got. This is had a tag too. I only have 2 phals that have tags. This was KV Beauty, and it seems to be doing very, very well. It's got new roots coming out here. Another root coming out back there, I've noticed. So it's starting to adapt into its mount. Phals seem to love to be mounted too, even though that's not really a mount, but it is. But they really seem to love that. This one's doing great in the lava rock. Tons of new roots growing down into the pot, new leaves growing. It's done very, very well. This is another one that's just gone crazy. New roots, new growth. Loving that pot. Climbing all over it, down inside. And I just noticed there's a little frog right there underneath that strap. Little frog. So we're just going to leave him alone. Cover him back up. I don't want the frogs in there, but I'm not going to harm them. Big cat, really doing well. It's giving me 3 big growths. Big growths on it. The older growths are kind of twisted and misshapen, but the new ones look really, really well. Much better, bigger. A lot of growth on it. There's another one. This is one I haven't repotted yet. This is Gower Ramsey, an Oncidium Gower Ramsey. This seems to be a frog magnet too. Always has a frog on it for some reason. Doing well. I need to repot that one. That's one of the few that I have that's not repotted yet. This is Roy Takunanga. Let me double check that. Dendrobium Roy Takunaga. But beautiful grower. Beautiful grower. Got a big new cane coming out right there. Lots and lots of roots. Just doing great. Can't complain. And then I've got Dendrobium Sweet Wink. This is a Nobile. Doing great. Beautiful root growth. It's given me 3 new canes so far since I've had it. And again, just doing great. Doing beautiful. And then there's that other, this is the Encyclia Rio Clarence, another one I have that's very large, couple of big new growths on it, doing great, and just filling up that pot with root growth. Just so much root growth. Anyway, that's a quick look at the ones on the wall. And the only thing left in the shade house here is Tulumnias on a piece of driftwood. They're doing really well. My Nodosa Little Stars doing great. I've got a couple of those little canes held up because a frog has jumped on them and bent them over. But I've gotten 14 new growths on this since I put this on this mount. 14 of them. It's just growing like crazy. Roots everywhere. Seems to really be doing well. Seems to love that mount. Seems to really be growing into it. This is another RLC. Just lots and lots of root growth. Big new shoot. Just finished growing that one bulb right there. And it's got another new one coming out. Very large growth too. This is Chief Queen Lightning. RLC Chief Queen Lightning. Doing great. Absolutely beautiful. This is, let me hang this one up here. This is Dendrobium aggregatum. And this is an interesting little story behind this plant. Around June 1st, Jan and I went to Lowe's, where I get all my bag babies from, and we actually looked at the bag babies, and there was a Dendrobium aggregatum that was in a bag, and it had fallen out of the bag, and or it had fallen out of its pot in the bag. The bag was full of loose bark, black leaves, yellow leaves. The plant was extremely desiccated, dried up, didn't look well at all. You can still see a little bit yellow tip on that one leaf right there, but wasn't doing well. That was June 1st, and I passed on it. I said, nope, not interested, doesn't look very good, doesn't look healthy. Anyway, a month later, July 1st, around July 1st, we go back to that same store. We're on the other side of the store from where the garden center is, and I see this plant laying on a shelf. Somebody had just left it there, carried it all the way across the store. I guess decided they didn't want to buy it or forgot it and left it sitting there. and it was in worse shape than it was before. And I pointed it out to Jan and said, nope, don't want anything to do with it. Didn't even pick it up and touch it. Anyway, a month later, August 1st, and we're in September 1st right now. 1st of September, I guess it's actually today is September 7th. So a little over a month ago, we walk into that same Lowe's, and in the front of the store, they have a big table with Phalaenopsis on it. And laying underneath that table is this aggregatum, and it's even worse shape. Anyway, Jan felt sorry for it and said, please get it. Let's see if we can save it. So I got it. Anyway, several weeks, I let it sit and soak for the first several days. Just let it sit and soak with some CalMag and a little bit of micros. And it perked up. It actually plumped up. The bulbs started plumping up a little bit, so I was hopeful. And then you can see there's a brand new growth right here on the back, that smooth bulb. It grew that new shoot very, very quickly, put that shoot out and grew it. And then I noticed a couple days ago, it's got another one growing out right here. So I took it out a couple of weeks back. I took it out of its pot because I'd put it back in its pot with a tag and with what bark was left in the bag, and just left it in there for a few days or for a few weeks while I decided if it was going to make it or not. And it started putting out the new growth, so I mounted it on this piece of driftwood, and I think it's going to grow onto it real well. I think it's going to do well here. It seems like it's gotten over the hump and seems to be positively growing. So I've had an aggregatum before, and they always grew very rapidly. Did very, very well for me. So one of my favorite dendrobiums. This is Elsie Denard Blue Heaven. Very, very happy plant. Growing like crazy. Has a new growth on the back there. Has another new growth coming up right here. And it just finished growing this one right here in the center. So, and this had very, very poor roots. Is the reason I put it on the mount was so I could keep an eye on it. I did not think it was going to make it, and it kind of helped to keep it separated from the rest of the plants, but it is just gone crazy. And this is a nice sized little plant, but watching Paula's video at Hillbilly Orchids, she has a Elsie Blue Denard Blue Heaven, Elsie Denard Blue Heaven, and it is the size of a basketball. It dwarfs this one, makes this one just look like a plug. Absolutely makes me giving me second thoughts about putting it on this piece of driftwood. I don't think it's going to be big enough. The one that Paula has is a beast, huge, the size of a basketball, just a gorgeous, gorgeous orchid. Gives me hope. I'm not doing very well with the cameras here today, probably. This is another of my Dendrobium My Sweet Wink. These are keikis off one of the other plants, and seems to really like that driftwood, growing very, very well. They're plumped up, just look gorgeous. I love Dendrobiums mounted. They always seem to do so well mounted. And then last but not least is that other phal that I have that was mounted. This one's done very well. It's growing new leaves. It's on its third leaf. It's growing very well. It's holding on to its flower spike still, which is great. Hope that'll help with its blooming this fall. And has just filled this piece of wood with roots. Just filled it with roots. They're coming out, wrapping all around it. And if you look underneath it, look at this. Look at the roots. Beautiful, beautiful green tips. Roots everywhere, everywhere. Pouring out of that piece of wood. Seems to be very, very happy. Sorry for the bad camera work today. Anyway, just a quick peek. Give you an update of how everything's growing. My collection is only 40 plus orchids. If I had 200 plus orchids, I'd be have a lot more blooms and a lot more stuff to show, but since I only have about 40 plus orchids, there's not quite as much. Not to say there's nothing going on, because they're doing fantastic. They're growing. There's not a single plant here that doesn't have new shoots, new canes, new bulbs. They're at the very minimum pouring roots out, so I couldn't be happier with that. They're all just growing. I started keeping that orchid notebook I told you before, and I keep track of how much I feed and what I feed and when I feed, and write all those notes down, all the new shoots, new root growth, new leaves, the size, lengths of them, etc., the rate that they're growing, all that stuff. And once you start to get a little bit of material in the log, it gives you something to look back at, and it starts to make a little sense. Over the past 4 weeks, I fed around a dozen times. That's about 3 times a week. But that includes when I'm also spraying with. Sometimes I spray them, sometimes I let them sit and soak. Anytime we get rain, I come out immediately and I spray them with CalMag. Sometimes I spray them with nutrients, but anytime it rains, at the very minimum, they get CalMag sprayed on them. They're not underneath trees where they can get dripped on with calcium all the time. So if you don't have your orchids underneath trees, you have to replenish that calcium whenever they get flushed out. If you flush them at home in your grow room, in your greenhouse, you need to give them calcium right afterwards too. And I speak about calcium way too much, but it's what makes these guys turn into jungle plants. It's what makes them grow. Look what it's done for the Hoyas. And I'm gonna let my plants speak for themselves. They're all growing, they're all strong. I don't ever have a plant, and even my previous collection, when I had 200 plus orchids, and I've had them for several years, I never once had a plant just die in its pot and all its roots deteriorate and die off. Never one time. All my plants are bag babies with the exception of some of these phals. They're all bag babies, which are about as nutrient deficient and as poor a condition as you can find an orchid in. And they all just, as soon as you start feeding them and giving them calcium, they just immediately turn into jungle plants and start growing like crazy again. And I grow in lava rock, river rock, pea gravel, and it's not because of my conditions or I have a special environment here in Alabama, or my, the place where I grow my orchids here is a special place or has a special environment, like I said. I grow outside for 5 months, and then they're going to go inside here in a couple of weeks because our nights are starting to get down into the 60s. They're going to go inside and they'll sit inside for 7 months, and they'll come back out in May. I only grow outside between May and September, and other than that, they're inside for 7 months, underneath lights and in a window, which I think is very similar to what other people are doing. So it's nothing special. It's just giving them the right stuff. Orchids are simple to care for. They just like certain things, and when you give it to them, they respond by growing like crazy. All the plants have really good color, really good growths, lots of new shoots, new canes, new bulbs, new leaves, and roots. And that's all that matters. I'm going to get these guys out of the sunshine, get them up into the shade house, evict a few frogs, and I'm not having any pest issues, no spider mites, no mealybugs, no thrips, nothing. My garden is full of that stuff out here, but I don't have any of that issues on my orchids. I spray them off. They get rained on all the time, including the phals. They get rained on and rained on and rained on. I don't have any issues with crown rot or anything like that. No issues with any kind of pests, insects, or anything like that. Frogs are the only thing I have to deal with, and the only thing they do is they jump on new growths and bend them over and break them sometimes, so I have to be careful with that. New spikes and stuff. They'll climb up on the tallest part of the plant, and especially if there's a bloom around, because that's where the insects will be drawn to, moths, etc., drawn to the blooms, and so the frogs hang out there. But as we get cooler, I'm sure that'll disappear. Anyway, that's enough. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update. Thank you again for all the kind words, the thoughts, those questions. I love those questions. And I come out here and I move these guys around every few days. I take them out, spread them out, look them over, and put them back in a different order. And it does several things. It allows me to take a look at the plants, look them over real good, inspect them, make sure nobody's having any issues or problems. And I get to see all the new growths. I sit down with my orchid log, my journal, and I write down what I see. Take each plant individually, sit down. I get a lot of pleasure in that, and it gives you some serious good information to look back on and see how they're doing. So I'm going to get these guys out of the sun, back into the shade house. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks again for all the kind words and the thoughts and the questions. It means the world to me and Jan, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great day.